You're listening to me, Katie Thistleton, on BBC Radio Manchester. It is just coming up to 20 to 3 in the afternoon, just coming up to 38 minutes to. And we are about to be joined by a very exciting guest who I've been really looking forward to speaking to all day. Her name is Kay Hutchinson, and she had a really successful career, a lovely home and a lovely husband. But one day she woke up and said, I'm leaving. So why did she walk away from her life? That's a question she tried to answer by turning to alternative therapies. And she's tried quite a few, everything from yoga to hypnosis. And she's written about these experiences in her book, which is called My Life in 37 Therapies. And this sounds really, really intriguing. She's with us now. Hi, Kay.
Hi, Katie. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. I hope you are too. This book sounds just wonderful and right up my street. I find it fascinating, sort of thinking about all the different ways that we can achieve a sort of happy and purposeful and content life. And you've certainly tried out all these different things, which I think is so intriguing. I really can't wait to read the book. Tell me about your life before you decided to sort of walk out on it.
Well, it was kind of interesting because I had a successful career. I really had everything you could possibly want. And I suddenly realized one day that actually all the things that I was doing weren't really making me happy. There was something missing. I didn't know what it was. I hadn't a clue, actually. In going through the book and going through lots of different therapies, I think I discovered that it all started with the death of my mother. She died of cancer, and then my now former husband actually got cancer only a few months later, and I hadn't really dealt with it. But I think the whole thing probably was just a bit too much for me to cope with, and I was sort of working very, very hard and sort of pushing myself into working harder as a result of these things. And I hadn't really realised that it had a huge effect on me, watching my mother die and then having to deal with radio and chemo of my husband. And I think that's really the source of all of the problems that I had. And it was then that I started to do things that were very out of character and look at different therapies. It all kind of happened quite organically. It sounds as if I sat down and wrote a list, but it didn't. It wasn't like that at all. At first, I kind of kept it hidden away because it just really wasn't me. And I tried to hide it from friends for a bit because I thought, I'll get over this. This will resolve and things will settle back down again. But they didn't. So I thought, right, apart from going to the GP and looking at, tests to check everything out, I wanted to try something to help myself, really.
Well,
so started the therapies.
Wow. I feel like it's something that a lot of people listening will relate to, that sort of feeling that you kind of need to just run out because everything's kind of going wrong in your life, or like you say, like not necessarily something in particular is going wrong, but you just feel like there's this sense of something's not right and something's missing. It's Katie Thistleton here, and we are chatting to Kay Hutchinson, who has written a book called My Life in 37 Therapies, inspired by all the different alternative therapies that she tried out after she decided to leave her life, essentially. She had a successful career, a lovely home, a loving husband, but something was missing. I think it's a feeling that lots of people will relate to. I think in life we're all kind of searching for that purpose, that meaning. I think that's why people want to have a good career, want to make lots of money perhaps, want to have children. I think it's the instigator behind all of the decisions we make, because we seem to have this just feeling of unrest. Don't you think, Kay? Is that what you would
absolutely
agree with?
I think especially today, I do think that the pressures on people in daily life are increasing all the time. And although this is actually a few years ago that I'm actually talking about in the book, I see that things have really speeded up in work and in home life, in social media, what people are expected to do. And I think I can actually see that there's an increasing need in people to find some kind of way to get away from it and to escape from it. And I think that the answer is probably somehow being able to integrate it and get some more balance back in life. And I think the way I did that, and it's great saying that now, but I went through a very rocky time, was actually through all the therapies, trying different things. Some of them worked for me, some of them didn't. And I think that's just a personal thing. We're all different. But I'm so glad I did some of them, because I think I had been running around like a sort of machine for so many years, and I forgot about myself. I forgot that, I'm actually a human being, and I need to be looking after all of the good things that I'm lucky enough to have, instead of running away.
Definitely, I totally agree. How old were you when you sort of had this moment where you went to go and find yourself?
47.
47.
I mean, I wasn't a spring chicken, you know. And I think that was also the shock of it, because, you know, I'd had this career and everything was just absolutely fine up to there. Sort of, you know, you couldn't really want for anything more in my life. I'm just very, very happy. But I just suddenly realised that things seemed a bit empty and meaningless to me. And I think it was partly realising through the cancer that you really are not living if you're not actually living fully. And so I started ramping up the yoga and started trying things that friends suggested to me to try. And I got really, really interested in it. And one thing led to another. A friend would suggest something. I met an astrologer on the yoga retreat. I went on a silent retreat, a shamanic retreat. I mean, it just kind of went crazy.
Yeah, I've got a list of some of the things that you did here. Voodoo, silent therapy, music therapy, acupuncture, affirmations, Ayurvedic medicine, loads of stuff. So tell us about some of the best therapies that you did then that you think have been really beneficial.
Yeah, I think the best one was the silent therapy. For me personally, I think one of the things was that I had my head so full and busy with thoughts and emotions and guilt and regret and, you know, questioning what was going on and what had I done wrong. And actually the silent therapy, well, I mean, it's kind of funny looking back. I mean, some people wouldn't think it was funny at all, but I was 10 days all women silent retreat over Christmas one
Wow.
year and it was in sort of Norfolk, which is kind of not very exotic. You'd expect it to be somewhere really fantastic with all the other places that I'd been to, but we had to keep quiet, not speak to anyone or even look at anyone to discourage communication of any kind for 10 full days. Our diet was completely vegetarian. We had 11 hours of silent meditation every day, and I always remember sitting there on Christmas Day, and my poor family, you know, my father had sent me a card just before I set off, said, "Christmas without wee Kay, I can't believe it." And of course, I mean, it's ridiculous because I was 47, you know, wee Kay. But I sat there with my apple and my orange, which was dinner, and a bit of herbal tea. And I just chopped that up and ate it. But I know it just sounds absolutely ridiculous.
Sounds terrible, yeah.
And it was really, really awful. And I think my sort of Scottish Presbyterian background was definitely saying, come on, don't let it get you down. Just you make sure you do it and get through it. And the funny thing was that by the end of it, I realised that, first of all, I was eating more slowly and chewing and digesting things properly, and everything had slowed down. I didn't even need to talk, and I cleared a lot of rubbish out of my mind that was clogging up the place, if you know what I mean.
Wow, that's fascinating. I mean, certainly as a radio presenter and someone who never stops talking, I would find that very, very difficult. But that's interesting. And do you feel that you've managed to maintain that sort of slowing down that it taught you to have?
Yes, I think through other things. Obviously, you can do meditation is quite common these days.
Yeah.
When I was doing it, people definitely thought I'd lost it. But yoga, there's elements of meditation within that, and getting closer to your own self, and actually also looking after your physical self. But I think I just find lots of people are interested in alternative therapies, and all of the slightly odd ones, the shamanic retreat and the Ayurvedic retreat in southern India where I went to, they're all about sort of getting back to the basics and back to yourself. And so I think they all have elements of the silent retreat in them. Do you want me to tell you about the shamanic thing that was?
Yeah,
Okay.
I would love you to.
So I think the thing that relates the silent retreat with the shamanic retreat was, I went on this amazing trip with a group of Germans, and for the first part of the holiday, we were living out in the Sahara, sleeping in the sands with a sleeping bag. And because I was there on my own, so all of the other people knew each other, they were actually doing shamanic healing training, which is it's kind of healing the soul, if you like. And I was kind of interested in finding out more about what that meant. But I was on my own, so I would be trotting off into the middle of nowhere, dropping my sleeping bag down and going to sleep on my own in the sand dune. But the highlight was we were taken to Giza, which is the oldest pyramid. And at a certain time during the day, all of the short stay tourists were thrown out, and just this group went through all the shafts and tunnels. I mean, it took us sort of 40 minutes to get to the centre. We eventually squeezed through a hole in the wall which led into the central chamber, the king's chamber. It would be a king, wouldn't it? Anyway, but and we all lay down in the silence, and then to my shock, initially the lights were turned off, the air conditioning was turned off, and there was nothing but the energy of this small chamber right at the center of the pyramid. And then of course there was a meditation, and then complete silence, and everyone just sat there. You really were mesmerized after that.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you feel like now, Kay, you're in a really good place? Do you feel like, have you found the answer through doing those 37 therapies? And is it a therapy in particular, or is it actually just that you've kind of discovered things whilst doing those therapies that have made you feel a little bit more content and satisfied with life?
I think what you just said there is spot on. The latter, it's more about finding your own self. And I know it's such a sort of common phrase to hear, but there is something about just being able to be calm in yourself, and all the noise and all the chaos going on around you, it's something wonderful to be able to learn how to do that and not be caught up in the merry-go-round every single day.
Well, do you know what, Kate? I feel relaxed just listening to you talk about it. there's a calmness that just radiates from you, and it's made me feel calm.
That's good.
And I'm honestly going to go away from here today and get hold of your book. Is it out already?
It's out on Thursday, but it's available on pre-order in usual places, and it would be great. I mean, I'm quite interested to hear. I've had such good feedback about it so far, but it would be great to know what you think, and if there's something in there that helps.
Yes.
Well, that's fantastic.
Lovely, yeah, exactly. Just sometimes you just need that, even if it's just that one little thing that in a book or a song or a film, or that makes you think, oh, that's just given me the answer.
Absolutely right.
Well, I'm very excited to read that when it comes out on Thursday. Then, do you know if you got an ebook version of it? Is it downloadable?
It's on Kindle. Yeah, I think all the versions have been sorted out by my lovely publishers. So yeah. Should be available for anyone.
Brilliant. I'm definitely going to give it a read on Thursday then. I'll download the ebook, and I'm excited to hear all about these 37 therapies and find the answer in there.
Oh, well, thank you for your insight too. It's always interesting to learn more.
Thank you, Kay. It sounds absolutely fascinating. So well done you for doing that book, and thank you so much for chatting to us on the radio today as well.